This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous, your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here, You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here. Now I'm standing here. Don't question my heart.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another edition of Extreme Resurrection here on the PTB Wrestling feed. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Riddle, and joining me as well as, of course, my other co-host, James Gruenberg. And Gruney, it's a big episode here for us because we are on episode number 50.
Wow, it's insane that I have not been keeping track of my own podcast episodes. And it's funny, wow, we're on episode 50, and this podcast has lasted for about, I would say, 5 years almost. 5 years.
Yeah, hard to believe it's been around that long, because I know you've obviously been here since the beginning, when it was originally you and our good friend Mike Cook. And then I know my first appearance was back when you guys did December to Dismember, the live watch. I think the original idea was that I would kind of be the pay-per-view liaison. But then shortly after that was when Mike had to step away for, because of other commitments, and then you just kind of asked me to be the permanent replacement. So I said yes, and here we are now.
Yep, and with more changes coming to not our show, but the show of ECW here, and I have to say, not for the better. I believe. I strongly believe that, Steve.
We'll definitely see. I mean, we talked about in our last episode a lot of change coming, and yeah, our 2 episodes here, a key component of that, as we are continuing down the road to Backlash. We got our 2 episodes here right before that, but of course we're going to start things off with our first episode of the night from April 15th, 2008, from the O2 Arena in London, England. So this is during, of course, their usual spring European tour that they always do after WrestleMania. We get our opening video hyping up the appearance of the Brothers of Destruction competing tonight. And on our last episode, when they first hyped this, you had said about how you thought we were going to get a tag match with the Brothers against Edge and Chavo to hype up Backlash, but that's not what we're getting. Instead, it's going to be champions versus champions as the Brothers of Destruction take on the SmackDown Tag Champions John Morrison and The Miz. What do you think of that match on paper?
I think it's all right. Morrison's not a newbie anymore. He's been well established, but I think it's great to, not get them over, but give them more mainstream hype, as, this is probably their biggest challenge yet. I mean, we've seen Morrison with single competitors as Intercontinental Champion, but nothing of this magnitude that I can remember.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, because I know a lot of the tropes that people don't like is 2 singles champions facing a tag champions. But let's not forget, Taker and Kane, have a storied history as partners. So it's not just like 2 random singles guys thrown together. It's 2 guys that have been a team before on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
So we open up with in the arena. We have Joey Styles and Taz on commentary, but in our first big announcement here, we learn that Joey Styles is leaving ECW. And they pretty much announced that he is going to be taking a position working on WWE.com. And Joey gets one last jab in when he says to Taz, "My first order of business is to cancel your column," which I forgot Taz even had a column on the website at this point. But we are then introduced to the man that's going to be taking over for Joey, the new voice of ECW, Mike Adamle. And immediately, I think a lot of people, I'm sure, had to like, oh boy. So, first off, Gruney, what do you think of this choice of having Mike Adamle as the new play-by-play announcer?
I feel that this was a misfire by Vince. I don't feel like Vince enjoyed Joey Styles. To Vince's opinion, Vince thinks Joey Styles is just a kid and a teenager. Like, this isn't the old ECW, and you're not following my rules. But it's like, dude, I'm doing everything that you say. I hype up the matches. I hype up the pay-per-view card. What more do you want from me? And I always think that Vince wants someone who has JR like commentary too. He wants an old person and someone who dresses nice and, has a particular haircut for all I know.
Well, I don't know if I would have put Mike Adamle in that spot, but in that mold. But yeah, I get what they were trying to go for. They obviously like him enough that they wanted to get him into a more prominent position. But I think what they missed about Adamle is that he's more of good of like he could be more good as like a pitch man, almost like what Todd Pettengill was in the '90s. And especially putting them on we'll see it play out on the live show. He's obviously not, studied up enough on the product. I mean, we hear specifically throughout these next 2 nights that he does make a lot of flubs. And there are certain times where Taz is like actively trying to get him to be, trying to include him stuff. And I don't know if it's just, stage fright or whatever, but Adamle definitely was very reserved and he was definitely making a lot of mistakes. So, maybe it'll get better as we go on, but maybe not. But just real quick, so after this for Joey, we really don't see him on TV again for the most part. He does focus on the website. He does make a couple appearances on 24/7 when it comes to like ECW stuff. He of course hosted the 3 ECW unreleased DVDs that came out in the 2010s. And then he ended up leaving in 2016, and he's actually still doing advertising sales in New York City, and has never really. He's made a couple appearances on the Indies. He did a brief, appearance in Shikara, and did there was an infamous moment in 2016 when he was at an Evolve event and made a Donald Trump comment that got a lot of that caused a lot of controversy, and then he kind of quietly disappeared after that. So. What do you make of Joey's run here? Since he first was at ECW One Night Stand in 2005 for a one-off, then he comes in full time first on Raw and then here to ECW. How would you grade his run as a commentator?
I would say it was great. I mean, there were no flaws. He did a lot of he did a lot for ECW on Sci-Fi and tried to make the best of it. I mean, there were times when I thought, why is Joey going back to this when it hasn't been brought up or it's not even a storyline anymore? Like, take Kelly and Mike Knox. Every time Mike Knox would wrestle when he hasn't wrestled in a month. So it's like Mike Knox comes back. Joey always has to bring up, oh, the former boyfriend of Kelly. Kelly's back. Mike Knox. Like, dude, nobody wants to remember that,
Yeah, I thought he was. I mean, he's definitely had his moments. Anyone who thought we were going to get prime Joey from like the '90s, I think, was asking a little too much. But he did what he could to get the talent over, especially like the young guys, and kind of playing up to what his strengths were. So he is going to be missed, though. And I actually forgot about this. I thought after they introduced Adamle that they were going to do like a 3-man booth for the whole night, but after they do that, like the little introduction, Joey's done. Like at one point they cut to the commentary table and it's just Adamle and Taz. So do you think Joey should have stayed for the whole night, maybe to kind of help out Adamle a little bit?
I thought they should have kept Joey on commentary, and then B. I thought Joey was going to leave after the first commercial break that we get in our first matchup here as well. But he stays and he just looks on, but he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, it's weird because, like I said, he would have probably been better off just maybe acting as like that little buffer there and helping Adam Lee get a little bit comfortable, but. I guess they just didn't want that. But we do go right to our opening match here, which is actually a little nifty 8-man tag here. So we have on one side CM Punk, Mr. Money in the Bank, Kofi Kingston, Jimmy Wang Yang, and Shannon Moore. They are taking on the contingent of Shelton Benjamin, Elijah Burke, Deuce, and Domino. So a little half SmackDown, half ECW action here. Punk gets the biggest reaction of everyone. Kofi's pops again, getting bigger. The London crowd definitely behind him, are getting behind him. Punk starts off with Domino as they lock up with Domino, them kind of trading momentum until Punk knocks him down and then hooks a front face lock. Moore tags in with a slingshot sunset flip for 2. He and Yang kind of do some double team. Yang hits a really good drop kick on Domino, gets some good height on that. They continue kind of training off on Domino, working the arm before Benjamin tags in. He gets a kick in, then slams Punk and drops an elbow for 2. Punk then catches him with a kick, and then he falls on top of a back suplex attempt for 2. Pounds on Benjamin before Benjamin reverses a whip and gets him with a knee to the ribs, and he throws him to the outside. And the heels look like they're going to go after him, but then the faces come over and get a little standoff there on the floor as the ref tries to separate them. That takes us into the break. When we come back, Punk and Burke are now in the ring as they go for a test of strength as Burke hits a snap mare but misses the elbow. Kofi comes in for the first time, continues to work Burke's arm. They go back and forth a little bit. Moore comes in, they do some more work on the arm as Yang comes in, hits a snap suplex and a slingshot somersault senton onto Burke. He beats on him in the corner until Burke shoves him up and gets a kick and uppercut. Chokes him on the ropes as Benjamin tags in, and then Burke does the thing where he slams down on the back and slides outside, which I thought always looks nice. Benjamin starts kind of beating on Yang in the corner, hooks on a submission. He gets to his feet, but Benjamin yanks him down by his jeans and keeps the hold on. Yang really kind of trying to fight back here, but Benjamin's still in control. Deuce tags in, gets some more punishment in, choking him, dropping a fist on him, continue kind of wearing him down. Kind of quick tags there again from the heels as they continue to beat on Yang, continue to try to wear him out. Deuce at one point starts working on the leg. Domino tags in, hits a slam and a leg drop for 2. Goes back to a submission. Again, Yang gets to his feet, but Domino rams the knees into his face, a la William Regal, as I like to say. He then knocks Moore and Punk off the apron, but at that point, Yang is able to catch him with a backdrop. And then Kofi gets the hot tag. Hits a really beautiful springboard crossbody on Deuce. This is where we get the first animalism of the night, where he goes, "You're making me crazy." One of his unfortunate catchphrases there. Clothesline drop kick from Kofi as he then hits does the boom boom into the double leg drop for 2 as Benjamin breaks it up. Punk comes in, goes after Benjamin. They tumble to the floor, and then Moore hits a nice little slingshot plancha onto everyone because Domino and Burke had come over to try to help Benjamin, but then Moore takes them all out. And then what I thought actually a really good little finisher sequence here. Deuce goes for a side kick, but Kingston ducks it and then hits Trouble in Paradise to get the 3 and win the match for his team. 12:31 your match time, so a lot of time here for these guys. I went 2 3/4. I thought this was a nice little 8-man tag here. I thought all 8 guys looked pretty good. I thought Yang was a good choice to play the face in peril. Interesting that they gave Kofi the win here over Punk, but clearly, they clearly see again something in Kofi that they want to get him over. And a good little win here for the faces here, and a good way to kick off the show.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5. I thought Yang got too much time in the ring, but like you said, it felt like they were trying to get something out of him. But it's like, why are we focusing so much on Jimmy over here? You could have like focused more on Kofi being in the ring, but I do like the hot tag. I thought Shannon had over rotated what was supposed to be a crossbody, and he turned it into something else when he jumped over the top rope for onto the heels. And then, like I said, like you said, nice drop kick by Yang to Domino, and then I thought it was a nice leg drop to Yang by Domino, like the leg drop that Domino did. And yeah, it was interesting that Kofi got the pin as well, because I thought Punk was gonna get it with the GTS as well. And I didn't know that Jimmy and Shannon were still a tag team, but that's only because they haven't been on ECW in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, but looks like they may be sticking around a little bit longer, as we'll see. But I think it should. We do have a note here to make that we're talking about finales here, and this is not just the last night for Joey Styles. This is the last time we will see Elijah Burke here on ECW. He does work a few dark matches throughout the rest of the year. Actually, apparently debuts a Black Pope gimmick, but he ends up being released on November 10th of this year. He would of course, go on to have a really good run in TNA as the Pope D'Angelo De Niro. Be one of their kind of big mid-card stars over there. Had little runs in OVW, on the Indies, did a little brief run in the NWA, right before the pandemic, and he's actually a guy I'm kind of surprised never came back. You'd figure, because usually when these guys leave and then they do TNA or the indie runs, they're you eventually see them again, but he never came back, surprisingly enough. We talk about, the fall from grace for him. Think about where we were a year ago, coming out of WrestleMania 23, when the New Breed were, red hot, and Elijah Burke seemed to be the top heel on the brand. And now here we are a year later, he's, just a nameless face in this random 8-man tag. Hardly, does really make an impact here. And then by the end of the year, he's gone. So, what do you make overall of Elijah Burke's run here?
Well, if you go back even one step further on when you thought he was going to get released after Sylvester Terkay didn't work out either, and Burke ended up staying. And I love the Elijah Express and that handstand elbow that he would do. I am surprised that he was not getting the ECW title as a heel. I think he could have definitely have been a better option than Morrison, but Vince definitely trusted Morrison versus Punk rather than Burke versus Punk. But again, here's a guy that Vince is praising with the new breed, and that went off course. And with Marcus Corvan leaving, and then Kevin Thorne going off on his own. Matt Stryker was still around, but yeah, and it's just Burke who's left. And again, just wow, really, he was on a high, and then he just fell to the lowest of low ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's like he was so focused on, but we've seen before with guys, once Vince seems to lose interest in them, they just fall by the wayside. And like you said, why wasn't he chosen to take that spot at Night of Champions instead? When Johnny Nitro or John Morrison got the spot. I think Burke could have had a good little run there as ECW champion with feuding with Punk. I mean, that was a feud already. So again, just unfortunate, lost untapped potential there for Burke. And as we'll see, his presence will be missed here on ECW as kind of like a steady mid card guy. So, yeah. All right. Well, we then see highlights from ECW last week. The contract signing with Kane getting laid out by Chavo, Hawkins Ryder, and his newcomer bodyguard. We then go backstage where Kane is. He says that last week Chavo made a grave mistake when he was attacked, and Chavo has awoken the monster within. He says that tonight the monster will reveal himself as Morrison and The Miz will face destruction. or rather the Brothers of Destruction, as we see the Undertaker standing next to him. So basic stuff there by Kane, kind of hyping up the main event, I think you would say.
Yeah, cool promo by Kane, and the crowd's always going to go crazy when they see the Undertaker, especially the England crowds and the European crowds as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. After the break, we get a quick shot of Piccadilly Circus there in London. And then we go to the ring where Taz is in the ring. He is going to be the MC for a Diva Dance-Off. He brings out the 5 contestants here, which are Layla, Maurice, who I believe this is the first time we've seen her, at least on ECW, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure she's been on SmackDown at that point, but yeah, this is her first time in ECW. Eve, who we saw the previous week, Lena Yada, and Kelly Kelly. So Taz runs down the rules that the 5 of them will each have a chance to show off their skills, and I'm not going to kind of go through. I'm just going to have a quick summary of each one. In terms of the actual dancing, Layla was easily number 1. Smoked all 5 of them.
Yep.
Maurice definitely felt very awkward, and I think she's kind of still finding her way. Eve, I thought actually wasn't too bad. I think she was definitely number 2 behind Layla. Lena Yada I thought was just kind of average, not really standing out much. And then Kelly, of course, gets the crowd riled up when she takes off her little sweater there to reveal her little lacy bra, and then does a few backflips. And then Taz pulls the crowd. Of course, they end up going with Kelly, so he declares her the winner. And then he ends up, he and her do like a really awkward dance together. Like his dancing is like so bad. It's just, just absolute cringeworthy. So, basic filler here just to get the divas on screen. And just another, you knew going in, even though Layla was easily the best dancer, that the crowd was always going to go for Kelly.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that Lena Yada was still around. I thought she got released right after those interview segments that she started doing. And I'm surprised that she's still here. We haven't seen her in a while. Yeah, Layla had the best moves. Taz is terrible at dancing. And cartwheels are not considered dancing, Kelly, nor is just doing a grind either. You have to have actual foot movement.
Yeah, and I have to say this too. Every time I see Maurice on the screen, I just can't think to myself, the fact that the Miz is getting to now hit that every night, it's like he's the luckiest damn guy in the world.
Well, that's what they always said about Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson. The fact that David Flair was with both of them at one point, and Billy Kidman and David were the luckiest guys in WCW.
Yeah. Well, the only difference though is that at least Miz and Maurice have made it. At least
yeah.
So. So. All right, well, we take another break. When we come back, Tommy Dreamer comes down to the ring with his good friend Colin Delaney. Dreamer's getting ready to compete here against his opponent, Mike Knox. They, of course, Taz brings up what happened the previous week where Dreamer had to beat Delaney in a match to save his own job, while at the same time preventing Colin from getting his contract. But right before the match is about to begin, our general manager, Armando Estrada, comes down the stage and says he has a big announcement. He says he knows what the fans want to see. They want to see a competitive match, and they want to see Knox go against a potential world champion. And he says that tonight, Knox is going to go one-on-one with Colin Delaney. So he tells Dreamer that he has the night off and sends him to the back. Colin, of course, is not too thrilled about this, but he gets in the ring, and Dreamer reluctantly he actually kind of looks like a pussy here. He doesn't give much of a fight, or at least to stay at ringside. He just goes to the back willy-nilly. So now we have an impromptu match here between Colin Delaney and Mike Knox. Knox wastes no time, knocks him down, stomps on him, hits a short clothesline, and then hits a really nasty snapback suplex. Delaney lands right on the back of his head. That looked really sick, and they show that replay a couple of times. Knox then kind of then splashes him in the corner, hits a back suplex into a backbreaker, and then hits his little corkscrew facebuster there for the win. 59 seconds to match time. Squash City for Knox here. I give it a quarter star. Again, just more of a Estrada putting the screws to Delaney, and Knox kind of reaping the benefits here.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a half a star because I do believe Knox still has potential. Here's this guy who's just tossing Colin Delaney around like a rag doll, but his moveset looks good. So I would say that Knox still has a little bit of potential left if they give him another chance here.
Yeah, well, it looks good because you got a guy, that's 100 pounds soaking wet, flying around the ring for him. So, of course, it's going to look good. We'll see though if this leads to anything with him and Dreamer. If we actually do get that match we were promised. So,
Yeah.
We go backstage where John Morrison and The Miz say that they will face the Brothers of Destruction tonight. As they say 2 weeks ago, they beat the hell out of that Taker and Kane beat the hell out of each other. They've had issues for years. While they themselves, Morrison and Miz, have a stronger brotherhood. They said they will divide and conquer. And Morrison says Morrison says that the man who'll get in Taker's face and prove ECW is their yard will be Miz, though Miz clearly has that very reluctant look on his face. So, good stuff here by Morrison and Miz, trying to show that being the more established team that they think they have the advantage.
Yeah, they're acting like they're not afraid of Undertaker and Kane here. And again, Kane suffered a beatdown last time by Chavo and La Familia at this point, or Bam Neely, as we say, the bodyguard. And Kane's coming off of that, and I don't really know what the Undertaker's been up to. So the Miz and Morrison are coming in with high hopes here.
Yeah, well, Taker's been having his own deal with Edge on SmackDown, so
yeah,
the kind of the divide and conquer. So then we get another break. We see a shot of the Tower Bridge. Now we go right into our main event, wasting no time here on this episode as we see the WWE Tag Team Champions John Morrison and The Miz take on the Brothers of Destruction, which are, of course, the ECW Champion Kane and the World Heavyweight Champion, The Undertaker. Great aura presence for Taker, as he always does. Like you said, the crowd in London absolutely loves him. Kane gets a really good pop as well. Morrison and Miz look, they're clearly hesitant, but they're going to try to, pull off a big upset here tonight. Kane starts off with Miz, who begs off and tries to get some momentum, but Kane ends up reversing a whip and knocking him down. Then starts working the arm. Taker tags in, continues to work the arm as he goes up and hits Old School. He then hits Morrison with a boot and then throws Miz over the top to the floor. He goes outside, throws Miz back in the ring, and then drapes him across the apron as he kicks him in the head. And then he gets on the apron looking for his vintage leg drop. But Morrison actually catches him with a clothesline that looked really good. That takes us to the break. When we come back, Miz and Morrison are still working on Taker in the corner. But Taker ends up grabbing Morrison by the throat and tosses him into the corner. Hits a headbutt and continues to beat on him. Morrison catches him ducking with a kick, but Taker no-sells and hits another big boot on Morrison. Tags Kane, who works the arm, chokes Morrison on the ropes. Morrison then tags the Miz, who clearly looked like he didn't want to tag, but Kane ends up tossing him into the ring, splashes him in the corner twice, and then knocks Morrison off the apron. Sidewalk slam to Miz. He goes up top, and then Morrison shoves him off the top. But Kane's able to land on his feet. Big boot to Morrison to knock him off the apron. But then Miz hits a chop block on Kane's knee. They kind of bring up about what happened, kind of how Kane kind of injured his knee the week before in the beatdown. They start working on the knee, kind of trading momentum, working on Kane's leg, hooking some different submissions on. At one point, Morrison hooks on like a leg lock, and Adam Lee calls it a figure four, which Taz quickly corrects him on that it's not. So again, Adam Lee definitely still not getting any momentum for his commentary. Kane keeps trying to fight back, but they continue to beat down on him, continue working on the leg. At one point, Miz escapes a slam and kicks at the knee, but then Kane hits a big boot, and then Taker gets a hot tag. He fires up on Morrison, whips him in the corner, hits Snake Eyes into a boot and an elbow for two. He then grabs Morrison and Miz by the throats, but they manage to kick him to escape. But Taker ducks a double clothesline just as Kane gets in the ring. They each grab Morrison, and Miz hits stereo double choke slams. And then Taker hits hoists Morrison up, hits the tombstone to get the 3 and win the match for he and Kane. 11:45 the match time, and I went 2.5. I actually thought this was a good little tag match. I thought Morrison and Miz, looked like they belong. They'd had a really good game plan there to, kind of keep Kane in the ring, beat down on his leg, kind of keep Taker out of it. But then when Taker got in, at the end there, you knew it was pretty much lights out there for Morrison and Miz. So again, I know the trope is, why are the singles champions beating the tag champions? But again, like I said, Taker and Kane have been an established team, so it's not, that big a deal. And they obviously have 2 big matches going in the pay-per-view, so they needed the win to get some momentum. But like I said, Miz and Morrison, I thought, still showed really well here and proved that they could be potential future players.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5 as well. And I thought that clothesline by Morrison to The Undertaker was fantastic. And Undertaker really sold it well. It looked it looked like it hurt a lot, too, going to the outside. And then the Miz and Morrison working on Kane for the most part with their frequent tags to each other to keep the freshman in. And they did a whole lot of work on Kane. But then, like you said, once you knew Undertaker was coming in, it was like, oh, it's going to be over because, we're going to get this, momentum of, the Undertaker just beating everyone down. I like the double choke slam and the tombstone at the end. So 2.5 for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a good way to end the show. I mean, this was definitely a very wrestling-based show. 2 nice long matches. Not too much fluff in there besides the dance-off. But are you a little surprised? No Chavo.
Yeah, no Chavo, and like I said, I thought we were gonna get right off the bat Edge and Chavo versus Undertaker and Kane here tonight.
No, well, we didn't, but we do get something close to it because before we talk about our next episode, I did want to bring up the Raw before on April 21st because that was a special 3-hour episode that took place in Greenville, South Carolina, and that saw the return of the King of the Ring. It was this had been hyped up for the last few weeks. Actually, and I neglected to mention this during the episode, they had actually the throne on the stage. And they were, hyping up the King of the Ring for a lot throughout the night. So, and the reason why I want to talk about it is because CM Punk actually plays a key role in this tournament. So, there were 8 guys involved. So the first round of the tournament saw CM Punk beat Matt Hardy, Chris Jericho defeated MVP, Finlay defeated the Great Khali, and then William Regal, the general manager of Raw, defeated Hornswoggle. Kind of, a little bit of a mismatch there. Then in the semis, Punk defeated Jericho in a pretty big upset, and then Regal beat Finlay. And then the finals, Regal would defeat Punk to become the 2008 King of the Ring. So William Regal now not only the general manager, but now the reigning king. So what did you think of that decision?
Long live King Regal. I definitely thought they, at the time, watching that back in 2008, I thought they were actually going to go with Punk and have him be both Money in the Bank and King of the Ring. It was going to be like almost the spring and summer of Punk, and we'll see Summer of Punk in 2008 as well when we get there. But I definitely thought they were going to give Punk another title again as King of the Ring 2008. But again, one last good showing of William Regal here.
Yeah, and of course, also on this night, we talked about the week before. This was the night that we had the match between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, in quotes. Of course, the 2 impersonators coming out and facing each other, and they really sad sack of a match. And then Umaga came out destroying them both in the highlight of it. And then how about this for a main event? The main event of that show saw Randy Orton, Edge, Chavo, and JBL defeat Taker, Kane, John Cena, and Triple H in an 8-man tag.
Wow. My God.
Yeah, so we did get that. We did get that Taker Kane versus Edge and Chavo tag, but just a part of that match. So we did get that. So
Yeah.
okay. Well, I did want to, like I said, I just wanted to bring that up quickly because I knew they were really hyping up that show. But now we'll go into our show the next night, April 22nd, 2008, from the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. We get our opening video to open the show. Of course, Mike Adamle and Taz, your announcers. And we waste no time going right into our first match here, which is a mixed tag as Tommy Dreamer and Kelly Kelly will take on Mike Knox and Layla. So obviously, we got they bring up the dance off from the week before, between Kelly and Layla. And then, of course, the match we were supposed to get last week with Dreamer and Knox. Now we get it here. No sign of Colin Delaney, though. Kind of interesting. Dreamer's out by himself, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Now, excuse me, Steve, can I stop you for a second? Because I got a little confused on where we were here tonight as I was watching this episode. I watched it this morning, and Mike Adamle was, I felt like he was like running in circles, and it was like slowed down in a way. He was like, oh, it's Super Tuesday here, just like it was Super Tuesday. And I feel like he said Pittsburgh at one time, and I was like, are they in Pittsburgh? Like, where are they? And then it's like, oh no, we're in Greensboro. And then I don't know, like I thought they brought up Wisconsin at one point. And I was like, where are they? I had no idea where ECW was at this point, like where it was. And let's talk about this one here on how bad Mike Adamle's commentary is. I know I sound like I'm Vince Russo right now, but this was terrible, Steve. The R-rated superstar. Do you think anybody could have coached Mike Adamle how to say Edge's name right?
Somebody definitely should have. I mean, you're definitely right about that. So just real quick, so the first Super Tuesday on 2008 actually took place on February 5th, and then the second one was on March 4th. So again, I don't know why they were saying about why Adamle was going on about Super Tuesday since we weren't even close to it.
Yeah, and we're not even close to Pittsburgh or wherever else they thought they were. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know he said Pennsylvania. I didn't hear Pittsburgh, but
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he did say Pennsylvania. He did say Super Tuesday. I'm guessing this was the day they had announced that it was going to be that the presidential election will be between Barack and McCain. So maybe that's what they were referencing to. But yeah, just really weird. And Adamle second night in, he's getting worse, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So back to the match here. So Kelly and Layla start. They kind of go back and forth. Layla actually at one point hosts a full Nelson on, but Kelly is able to block a ram into the buckle and kicks her down for two. Knox quickly tags in and socks Kelly, but then Dreamer gets a tag in. He goes at it with Knox for a bit, but Knox then hits a clothesline, chokes him on the rope, slams down on his back, continues to beat on him, but then Dreamer catches him with a boot and hits a running bulldog. Kelly and Layla then tag in. Kelly hits a pair of clotheslines on Layla and then hits a drop kick, and then goes up top and hits a cross body for two, with Knox breaking it up. Dreamer then clotheslines him. Hits a clothesline that sends both of them over the top to the floor. Kelly gets a kick in, but Layla escapes a hold. She then gets a kick in, but then Kelly escapes a suplex and then hits the rocker dropper to actually get the 3 and win the match. But then afterwards, she and Dreamer celebrate, but then Knox gets in the ring and hits his little corkscrew facebuster there on Dreamer before handing to the back. So 209 your match time. I give it a star. It was fine. A lot of it, Kelly and Layla doing most of the work, besides a little bit with Knox and Dreamer. And you mentioned about how they always brought up about Knox and Kelly's relationship. Not one mention of it here by Adamle and Taz. So it seems like they finally have abandoned that and are not going to mention it anymore. But obviously, clearly, we're still continuing something here with Dreamer and Knox.
Yeah, I gave it a star and a quarter. I thought Kelly's work here was a little bit better. especially with like the cross body and everything, and that the rocket dropper. I thought she was like gonna go for like a leg twist, but she just like it's almost like a famouser basically, and it's weird. Like she just like puts her leg forward and wham. But I like that finisher. And again, I thought Kelly did a little bit better than what we've been seeing in the past, especially since she doesn't do that handspring elbow either.
Yeah, so yeah, they're definitely getting there. They still got a ways to go, but they're definitely getting there. So I will give them that at least.
Mm-hmm.
So we take a break and then we come back and we get footage from Raw of the three presidential candidates, Hillary, Barack, and McCain, giving their comments. And you talk about one of the most cringeworthy segments ever. These three politicians trying to spout off wrestler catchphrases to try to get in touch with a younger audience is just. Ugh, I want to gouge my eyes out, particularly when McCain was like, like basically cosplaying Hulk Hogan. He's like, "What you gonna do with John McCain and the McCainites, or the McCainamaniacs run wild on you?" He's like, "Dude, shut the hell up."
Yep. I thought that was bad, and I thought Obama was still the best speaker out of all of them.
Yeah. Do you smell what Barack is cooking? Like, really, dude?
Yeah.
Well, we get from there. We go to our next match here, which sees an old rivalry renewed here as John Morrison takes on Jimmy Wang Yang. Of course, we talked about these two teams heavily at the end of 07 into 08. Then that feud kind of died away. Now all of a sudden brought back out here. Miz joins Taz and Adam Lee on commentary. And at one point, Miz calls him like Jimmy Wang Wang, and he's like, "Hey, if Adam Lee can make mistakes, so can I." So
yeah,
I like that little bit there by Miz. As you can definitely tell he's getting a lot more comfortable on the mic.
Or really Jimmy Yo-Yo, and Shannon Snore. Shannon Snore was hilarious. Jimmy Yo-Yo and Shannon Snore. That was great.
Yeah, he's definitely getting better. So I'll definitely give him that. Morrison and Yang lock up the start, kind of exchange some momentum. Yang ducks a shot and then slides into Morrison and hits a Hurricanrana and then clotheslines him over the top to the floor. Yang goes for a dive, but Morrison manages to avoid it. And then Yang lands on his feet and chases Morrison back into the ring. Yang gets some more momentum as he hooks a headlock. They keep going back and forth a little bit. Then Morrison starts to work the leg, kind of coming back to the strategy from the week before. Yang's able to escape with a head scissors and avoids a charge with Morrison hitting the corner. But Morrison recovers first and grabs the leg. But then Yang hits an enziguri, and then one of always my favorite spots, he does the monkey flip with Morrison doing a full flip and landing on his front, which always looks really good when Morrison does that. Morrison, though, recovers, sends Yang in the corner, kicks his leg, but Yang gets him with a back elbow. Tries to go up top, and Morrison crotches him on the top rope, and Yang falls to the mat. Morrison goes for a split leg corkscrew moonsault, but misses, and then Yang goes up top and hits a picture-perfect moonsault, and that's actually enough to get the 3 and the win, much to Miz's dismay, because he spent the whole time on commentary now trying to help his partner. And then Morrison and Yang and Moore celebrate here. 2:59 your match time. I want to start a quarter. These two still have some pretty good chemistry. Big upset win for Yang, and it makes you wonder if Yang and Moore are once again going to try to challenge Miz and Morrison for the tag titles, because really, we had that Iron Man back in January, but that ended in a draw, and we never really got a full-fledged winner in that. So you almost wonder maybe if, considering that Miz and Morrison don't really have that much in the way of challengers, if Yang and Moore here are going to get one more shot.
So, Steve, I went higher than you. Actually, you're not gonna like it. I actually gave this matchup 2 stars. I'll tell you why, Steve. Because I like Yang's cruiserweight like his cruiserweight style. He like him just like doing all the flips and stuff. That that monkey flip that Yang does to Morrison, where he just like goes all the way front face, like look brutal. And I just liked all of Yang's dives and kicks and everything too. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the moonsault pinfall too. So I actually went 2 stars, and you can see Yang at the end of when they're on the stage, like he does like the championship like flash, like, oh, we want the titles.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not. I think you going 2s, not that far of a stretch. I think
No.
the only thing that kept it back from me was the fact that it was only 3 minutes. Like, give
Uh-huh.
these guys some more time, and they can really put on a really good match. So, I think they were just, and that's actually gonna be a theme for the night here, is that we get a lot of short matches here. So, but no, I can definitely see why you gave it 2, and I'm not, maybe actually, you know what? You actually convinced me. I'm going to bump it up to 1.5 stars at least. So
Yeah.
I think I undersold it a little bit. Again, just focusing too much on the fact that it was so short. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll give him that extra quarter star there. Okay, well, when we come back from break, we get the Raw Rebound, which highlights the King of the Ring and William Regal's road to the crown there. We then get the not the full Backlash card, but pretty much all the big matches here, and Backlash shaping up to be a great, pretty solid little card here. So we obviously know we got Kane and Chavo for the ECW title, but the other big matches we have here, we'll see the Undertaker and Edge in a rematch from WrestleMania for the world title. We got a 4-way for the WWE title as Randy Orton defends against John Cena, Triple H, and JBL. We'll also see Matt Hardy challenge MVP for the US title. We also have a pretty big match between Batista and Shawn Michaels with Chris Jericho as the guest referee. We have a battle of giants between the Big Show and the Great Khali. And then we have a 12 Diva tag match, which on one side we'll see Ashley Massaro, Cherry, Kelly, Maria, Michelle McCool, and Mickey James take on Beth Phoenix, Jillian Hall, Layla, Melina, Natalia, and Victoria. So on paper, Gruney, that's a pretty decent little card.
Yeah, I want to know who thought the Great Khali versus Big Show was a great idea. That's all. I like everything else that they have. JBL making one more run, like we saw him. He's making a comeback. What was it I was gonna say? Crap, I was gonna say something. Oh, I forgot that Jericho was the special guest referee for the Shawn Michaels Batista matchup, because I knew why they were doing this. Like, Batista was mad about Shawn Michaels, like Batista was kind of calling Shawn a fraud about the whole Ric Flair thing. And Shawn's like, nah, I meant every word of it, blah, 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 and everything. I totally forgot Jericho was the special guest referee.
Yeah, well, he was kind of being like the little shit stirrer there between those two guys. So yeah, kind of give him something to do, even though he's the Intercontinental Champion and he should be defending that belt. But so then we see Kofi Kingston warming up backstage as Shelton Benjamin walks up to him. Kingston mentions they're going to be facing each other tonight, and Kofi's like, he brings up how Benjamin was from the University of Minnesota. He says, you call yourself the gold standard. You used to be a golden gopher too, in his Jamaican accent there. And then he says, "May the best man win." But then Benjamin brings up the fact that Kofi's still undefeated, but vows that it will end tonight. So, good little back and forth here between these two.
Yeah, and it should be a great matchup too. Like you said, you have Kofi, who's undefeated on a hot streak, and the gold standard himself from Minnesota. Not that bad of a matchup here. Not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. And after we get back from the break, that is our matchup here as Kofi Kingston takes on Shelton Benjamin. A lot of potential for this to be a good one. They lock up, do some mat work as Benjamin tries to out wrestle him. At one point, Kingston kicks up Benjamin's leg and hits a really beautiful drop kick. He got some good height on that one. Benjamin takes back control. Hits and at one point catches Kofi on a leap and hits a shoulder breaker that looked really nasty. works on him a little bit, works the arm as Kingston tries to get momentum. Benjamin gets a knee in, but then Kofi hits a nice high cross body for 2. But then Benjamin manages to hit an arm breaker, continues to work the arm as he slaps him in the face. And then Kofi holds the ropes on a whip, backdrops Benjamin over the top, but Benjamin lands on the apron, snaps Kofi's arm on the top rope. He goes up top, and then Kingston catches him coming in with another really nice drop kick for 2. But Shelton takes control again with an arm bar. Pulls Kofi to center and tries to force a submission, but Kofi's able to fight out of it. And then twice he tries to escape with an arm drag, but Benjamin actually rolls through and holds onto the hold, which I thought was a nice little showing there as Benjamin's kind of showing off his his wrestling skills. Kofi finally backs him into the corner, avoids and forces a break. Kingston goes for a monkey flip, but Benjamin lands on his feet in a nice little spot there, and then knocks Kofi down, gets a pair of knees in, but then Kofi out of nowhere ducks a kick and then hits Trouble in Paradise to the back of Benjamin's head. That's enough to get the flash pin and to get the win. So Kofi kind of pulling it out of nowhere, particularly with the Trouble in Paradise there. 3:56 your match time. I actually went 2 stars on this one. For the 4 minutes they got, I think these guys showed a lot of good chemistry. I thought Kofi played well from under. Benjamin really kind of ground him down, but then he made the one mistake and Kofi, took advantage of it. I'd like to see these two have like an extended feud coming out of this because I think, Kofi's had a lot of really good showcase wins, but now he really needs a feud to kind of get him more established. And I think Shelton's a perfect guy for him to feud with because they have a lot of similar styles. Obviously Shelton a little bit more mat based, but he can fly when needs to. And it's, I think, would be a good test for Kofi to really get himself over with the crowd. And crowd gives him a nice little pop when he wins. So clearly I think they want to see this feud continue, as do I.
Yeah, I gave it 2 stars as well, and I actually thought Shelton was going to pull it out and give Kofi his first loss because now who's gonna be Kofi now, and who's actually gonna be Kofi's first loss? Is it even gonna be on ECW? And now what do you do with Shelton Benjamin? How can he rebound?
Yeah, like I said, this definitely felt like part 1 of of what should be a multi-week feud between these two. So hopefully we do get to see these guys hook up again. All right, so we go to commercial, and then when we come back, we have our main event match already here. Is already in the ring as Nunzio takes on Mark Henry. Quite the mismatch here on paper, as once again Nunzio popping up out of nowhere here. Both guys are already in the ring by the time we get the bell rung, as Nunzio tries to kick at Henry's legs, but Henry hits a headbutt and tosses him into the corner, stomps on him and then tosses him into the corner again, continues to beat on him and rams the back of his head into the buckle. He puts him on the top rope, but Nunzio tries to leap off him, but then Henry catches him in a bear hug, which he then transitions into the world's strongest slam to get the pin with the win. 121 your match time. I went a quarter star. Pretty much just again standard squash match here for Henry. And I'll talk about Nunzio in a second here, but again, pretty much Henry, who we haven't seen on ECW a lot as of late, now maybe looking like to be reestablished here.
Yeah, I gave it a quarter star as well. And poor Nunzio, he suffered that concussion with Elijah Burke to where Burke couldn't even do the Elijah Express because Nunzio was kind of like out of it and couldn't get up for that spot. And now Henry just destroys him here as well. So quarter star, Mark Henry just looking to establish himself again on ECW.
Yeah, so this actually, we have another farewell here, as this is actually our last time seeing Nunzio on TV. So he makes one more appearance on the May 5th Raw. They do, I guess there's a handicap match. It's like, the ECW roster against Triple H and Mr. Kennedy, which we may have to, when we get closer to that date, we'll have to talk about that. But then he ends up getting released on August 8th of 2008. Pretty much works, he does work the indie scene, has a little run in TNA. He's there in 2010 when they do that whole their own version of ECW, that like EV 2.0. He's a part of that, makes a couple appearances there. He does return though in 2010 to WWE as a referee. and works out a little bit before 2011. And of course, as everyone knows, in 2024, he did make an appearance on NXT when they were at the old ECW arena when he challenged Tony D'Angelo for the North American Championship. So little ECW flair there, and it's kind of like the two the two old mafia, the old school mafia Don versus the new school Don there in essence. So Nunzio, he had an interesting run on WWE. He came in early '03 as Jamie Noble's cousin, which I think a lot of people forget about because it was like such a quick angle that they dropped. Because then he quickly reforms the FBI, this time with Johnny Stamboli and Chuck Palumbo. They do have a little brief feud with the Undertaker in '03, but then they kind of do their own thing. Then once Palumbo and Stamboli kind of got let go, Nunzio was on his own for a bit. Then they brought in Vito for him to be his new muscle. Nunzio did get a cruiserweight title run in '05 when that belt was kind of starting to get forgotten, the belt. Then he comes back here, with ECW in '06. First as Little Guido, he reforms the FBI with Tony Mamaluke. They have Big Guido, and of course they have Trinity with them. But they're pretty much at that point they just used as jobber fodder, which is what Nunzio ends up being for the remainder of his run, basically. So. Probably not that big of a loss for ECW, but again, when you kind of look at this, what this roster is going to be, maybe he was a guy that could have been used to kind of put when we get some of these newer guys coming in. Maybe he'd be a good hand to kind of help get them over.
Yeah, fun fact, I was actually at the Velocity taping, because it was on Velocity, where Nunzio defeated Paul London for the Cruiserweight title in 2005 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Yeah, I don't think people remember that Nunzio came in as Jamie Noble's cousin, and I actually met Nunzio, and I was talking to him about now the FBI had to take out Nathan Jones before WrestleMania 19 on Sunday Night Heat because Nathan Jones wasn't ready for the big times here. And he was laughing so hard. He was like, yeah, he wasn't ready. And then they were like, you guys got to do something about it. And it was like, all right, well, we'll take him out then.
Well, it wasn't even really the FBI because I just watched that meeting. It was
Oh,
Nunzio,
yeah, that's right.
Big Show and A-Train.
Yeah. But again, he's like, oh, I got your wallet and all that too. But it was kind of funny how Nunzio was the focal point. And Nunzio did have a good cruiserweight run with the cruiserweights. And, if you watched one of his matches with Undertaker, he does the, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit before getting the last ride.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, Taker even took care of him too. He was like, "All right, I got you," and that was pretty fun. And I saw Nunzio wrestle on the dark match at Victory Road to 2023. Yeah, so again, like you said, Nunzio is still around in wrestling, whether it's WWE, Impact, or just anywhere on the indie scene that you see him. It's him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely a good workhorse guy. If you really want to get his real good work, our good friends over at Extreme Three-Way Dance, of course, in the midst of the spring of 2000 when he's really starting to get hot. He's been doing those three-ways with Tajiri and Super Crazy, and then him and when Tony Mamaluke does come in, they have a great tag run. So if you really want good Nunzio / Little Guido, definitely check out his late 99 to 2000 ECW run.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where you get his peak. So we do get a quick glimpse of Kane backstage before we go into break. We then see highlights from the European tour, from seeing all the different different house shows, including one that looked like it was in a Roman Coliseum. But I think it was in France, or it was in Spain, if I remember them announcing. And then we get to our main event segment here, and I apologize, I should have mentioned this at the top. They were hyping this all night. The Cutting Edge was going to be out tonight, and Edge's guest was going to be none other than the ECW champion Kane. So we get that right now. Here as Edge comes out with Hawkins and Ryder. He says he doesn't want people to be alarmed because he has brought his talk show here to ECW. He has his guest here is a man that he beat last night on Raw, of course, referencing that 8-man tag, because Edge actually pinned Kane in that match to win it for his team. He is the man that will face Chavo at Backlash as he brings Kane out. He says he offers Kane a seat, but Kane refuses. Edge says that in this industry, family is important, and everyone seems to think the most dominant family is the Brothers of Destruction. He says that for almost 2 decades, Kane and Taker have raised hell, including now with both brothers being world champion. He says their parents must be so proud. Obviously, talking about Kane's parents, and Kane's like, his parents are dead, and he will be too if he ever mentions them again. He said that he's taken him out before, and he'll do it again. As Edge says, this is his show, and he asks the tough questions. He talks about Kane's life sucking. He says it traces back to his dysfunctional family because he thought he was burning a fire that his brother caused. He says Kane is hid behind a mask. Those scars were all mental, and he's had an off-again relationship with Taker. He said that Kane's had 2 failed relationships. One he won't reference, which obviously everyone who knows who he's talking about. And then he talks about the one with Lita, where he said that Kane impregnated Lita to carry on his legacy. And then after Lita had a miscarriage, she left Kane for Edge. And since then, Kane has been a main part of his life. He says he was going to marry Lita until Kane ruined it. Of course, that was an infamous moment there on Raw. Then years later, when Edge was the world champion, Kane put him out of action. That was the famous Mardi Gras celebration where Kane dressed up as one of the performers and attacked Edge and led Edge to suffering. I think it was a torn bicep that took him out of action and forced him to vacate the title. But he says that injury ended up being a blessing in disguise because through it, he met the most wonderful woman in the world during that time, meaning Vicky Guerrero. And Kane asks if Edge is actually thanking him for that. And Edge says she's his everything. He says Hawkins and Ryder are like his sons. Chavo is his nephew. And this is where we officially get the announcement of the bodyguard. His name is Bam Neely. He says that Neely is the second cousin he's just getting to know. He says they are a true family and things haven't been good for them since Mania because Kane and Taker stole the important heirlooms to them, being the world titles. He says he's glad the next pay-per-view is called Backlash because his family will take everything back that belongs to them. Kane says that after Backlash, Edge won't have the titles or family because he'll destroy Chavo, and if Neely gets in his way, Edge will never get the chance to know him. And as far as Edge and his sons are concerned, Taker will add those three victims to this family tragedy. He says the way he sees it, after Backlash, the only remaining member of the family will be Vicky, who will be out by herself. And he says that Edge doesn't have to worry because he and Taker will take real good care of her, which he says is a promise as he starts to laugh. Edge, says, "How dare you?" And then a brawl breaks out as Kane fights all 3 men off. Chavo and Bam Neely then run down to the ring as Neely hits a chop block on Kane's knee. The 5 men swarm him, kind of hold him down as Edge rolls outside and brings a pair of chairs in the ring. Edge puts one of the chairs under Kane's leg, and then he hands the other chair to Chavo, who then beats on Kane's knee with it repeatedly. Edge, Hawkins, and Ryder start to head to the back as Chavo again gets another shot in on the knee while Neely holds him down. And then they two leave the ring, and the 5 men stand tall on stage as Kane lies seething on the ground, and we go off the air. So long segments, pretty much. You almost kind of forget the extended history there between Kane and Edge. Dating back even to 06 with all their stuff with Lita. Again, another good beatdown here by La Familia on Kane again, trying to give Chavo some edge, because again, straight one-on-one, it's an obvious mismatch. And another episode where Chavo actually gets to stand tall over Kane.
Yeah, so I'm guessing the second relationship that wasn't Lita was Tori, the one who left Kane for X-Pac. I'm being sarcastic. I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
and I was surprised that they brought up Lita's name, but because she had been gone from the company in 06 and that was 05 and stuff. And then Lita did make an appearance at the Raw 15th anniversary show, but not really being featured. So I was kind of surprised they went all the way back there and name dropping. But again, it's WWE. They do what they want. Again, yeah, Chavo Guerrero actually standing tall. At this point, I thought chair shots were banned from WWE, but he's laying some great shots into to Kane as well.
Yeah, he is hitting him in the knees, so it's not like he's hitting him in the head repeatedly. So, but But yeah, so I mean, going in now, Kane has a injured knee, and it seems like Chavo's potentially on route to regain the ECW title. And when we talk our next episode, we'll see if he does so, or if Kane does end up retaining. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's going to do it for. Oh, sorry. Do you have something to say?
No, I do not.
Okay. But that's going to do it for this episode here. So let's talk about now where we can be found on social media and what other shows we might have going on. So, Gruney, why don't you let us know?
Well, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I have this podcast and another podcast called Nation Invasion, where I discuss WWF versus WCW ECW Alliance from 2001. We are at the end point, as by the time you're listening to this, I'll be ready to record Survivor Series 2001, which will be a watch along on this upcoming Wednesday night. Will be the recording of that show with Jeremy Nichols. Jeremy has been helping me finish these last couple of weeks of Raws and SmackDowns. You can go back to the Raw from 11, I believe, it's Raw from 11/9/2001 and SmackDown 11/12/2001, where Mick Foley and Paul Heyman tell how it is in the WWF and why it sucks. And then tensions are running high as can the Alliance trust Stone Cold to lead them to victory, and can The Rock and Chris Jericho get along to lead their team to victory, as we are heading into Greensboro, North Carolina for Survivor Series and winner take all. Also, you can find me on the Place to Be Nation pop feed. I have a podcast called Pop Goes Degrassi, where me and John Kesalico, we go over Degrassi Next Generation. We just covered White Wedding Part 1 and Part 2, where Emma's mom, Spike, is getting married to the teacher, Mr. Simpson, or Snake, as his friends like to call him. But when Spike announces that when Spike is pregnant and Mr. Simpson says he doesn't want kids, will their marriage fall on the rocks? And then Manny invites Sean to the wedding, but Emma doesn't want him there. But after everything that goes, after everything is going haywire, she decides maybe it wouldn't be that bad to have him there as well. So we'll see how that goes, as it's White Wedding Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, good stuff. As for me, I can usually be found on the PTV Pop Experience as well. A couple of shows over there: Pop Goes the Classics, the Video Jukebox Song of the Day, and Making Mount Rushmore. And I will just kind of tease it here a little bit for this year, for the holidays, the return of Pop Goes the Couch, as we will be, as me and a select number of guests will be talking some of the best Christmas TV specials of all time. Looking forward to that. It's going to be part of our little. We're going to be officially calling it "Pop Goes the Holidays" on the Pop feed. Anytime you hear it's, we have something that's going to be involved with Christmas. So be prepared for that. I can also be found occasionally over on the North South Connection as part of Cronoso, as well as part of when Ryan Gray does his little PLE previews. I sometimes take part in those. And of course, you can find me over on the PTB Facebook group, where we got stuff going on over there as well, periodically. So be sure to get involved with that. But again, that's gonna do it for this episode. We'll see you in about a month as we come out of Backlash and start beginning the build to Judgment Day. So he is James Gruenberg. I am Steve Riddle. This is Extreme Resurrection on the PTB Wrestling feed, and we will see you next time.